There was a time when the open road called to us with a promise that felt sacred, when a motorcycle wasn't just transportation, but a ticket to freedom itself. From the windswept plains of Montana to the desert highways of Arizona, these machines carried our dreams across a landscape that seemed endless and full of possibility. Today, we're counting down the 15 motorcycles that defined what it meant to truly tour America, bikes that turned every mile into a memory and every horizon into a new beginning. These weren't just motorcycles. They were our companions on the greatest adventure of all, discovering what lay beyond the next bend in the road. The Goldwing arrived like a whisper that became a roar, changing everything we thought we knew about long-distance touring. Honda's flat-4 engine was butter smooth at highway speeds, delivering 80 horsepower with a reliability that put the competition to shame. This wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a rolling testament to Japanese engineering prowess meeting American wanderlust. Back in '75, when gas stations still had attendance and Route 66 still meant something, the Goldwing offered something revolutionary: comfort without compromise. That low center of gravity made it surprisingly nimble for a bike that could swallow hundreds of miles without breaking a sweat. The shaft drive meant no chain maintenance during those long hauls through Monument Valley or along the Pacific Coast Highway. What made it perfect for touring wasn't just the specs, it was how it made you feel. Sitting on that wide, plush seat, you weren't just riding, you were floating across America's great distances. The Goldwing turned novices into iron-butt riders and showed us that touring could be about the journey, not just surviving it. Before we dive in, if you're a motorcycle fan and you've not yet subscribed to this channel, you're missing out on a lot. So make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell. Let's continue. The GS1100E was Suzuki's love letter to the American highway, wrapped in muscular styling that promised adventure and delivered on every mile. With 100 horsepower from its air-cooled inline-4, this bike had the heart of a superbike but the soul of a tourer. It was the kind of machine that made you want to pack light and ride far, chasing sunsets from the Rockies to the Atlantic. In 1981, while Reagan was president and MTV was just getting started, the GS1100E represented something pure, the marriage of power and practicality. Its comfortable riding position let you eat up interstate miles, while that potent engine had enough grunt to make mountain passes feel like gentle hills. The bike's reliability became legendary among riders who pushed deep into America's backcountry. What set it apart was its versatility. Whether you were cruising through the Black Hills of South Dakota or threading through the curves of the Blue Ridge Parkway, the GS1100E adapted to your needs. It carried touring gear without complaint and could still hustle when the mood struck. This was touring for riders who refused to compromise, who wanted their cake and planned to eat it at 80 miles per hour on a desert highway under a blanket of stars. The KZ1000 roared into the late 70s like thunder across the plains, bringing superbike performance to the touring game when most riders thought you had to choose between speed and comfort. Kawasaki's 1015 cubic centimeters inline-4 pumped out a healthy 90 horsepower, enough to make quick work of the long stretches between small towns that dotted America's heartland. This was the era of CB radio chatter and truck stop coffee, when the interstate system was still young and full of promise. The KZ1000 embodied that spirit perfectly. It looked fast, standing still, with lines that suggested both power and purpose. The riding position struck that perfect balance. Sporty enough to feel engaged, upright enough to ride all day without your back screaming for mercy. What made it a touring legend was its ability to transform any rider into a road warrior. The motor's broad power band meant easy cruising at highway speeds, while the sturdy frame soaked up road imperfections like a much heavier bike. The KZ-1000 proved that touring bikes didn't have to be boring. The XS-1100 was Yamaha's answer to riders who wanted to cross continents, not just counties. With its massive 1,101 cubic centimeters inline-4 churning out over 90 horsepower, this bike had the muscle to haul a full touring load up the Rockies without breaking a sweat. But power was just the beginning of what made this machine special for long-distance adventures. In 1980, when America was rediscovering its love affair with the open road, the XS-1100 offered something unique: limousine comfort with sports car performance. That long wheelbase provided rock-solid stability at highway speeds, while the plush seat and relaxed riding position meant you could ride from dawn to dusk without counting the miles. The shaft drive was maintenance-free, perfect for riders planning trips measured in weeks, not hours. What truly set the XS-1100 apart was its personality. This wasn't a clinical touring machine, it was a bike with character. The engine had a distinctive growl that announced your arrival at every roadside diner and national park entrance. Loading it down with panniers and a top box for a cross-country adventure felt natural, like the bike was built for exactly that purpose. The XS-1100 understood that touring wasn't just about getting there, it was about enjoying every mile of the journey with a machine that felt like a trusted companion. The VF1100S Sabre arrived as Honda's statement bike, proving that touring machines could be both sophisticated and thrilling. Its V4 engine was a marvel of engineering, delivering smooth power across the rev range while producing one of the most distinctive exhaust notes ever to grace American highways. This wasn't just transportation, it was mechanical poetry in motion. By 1983, the touring scene was evolving. Riders wanted more than just comfort. They demanded style and performance. The Sabre delivered with its angular, aggressive styling that looked like it was carved by the wind itself. That V4 motor produced serious power, over 100 horses, but delivered it with a refinement that made long days in the saddle a pleasure rather than an endurance test. What made the Sabre perfect for touring was its ability to be multiple bikes in one package. Commuting through city traffic, it was smooth and manageable. On the open highway, it transformed into a long-legged cruiser that devoured miles with authority. When the road turned twisty through places like the Ozarks or the Appalachians, the Sabre's sport bike DNA came alive. This was touring for riders who refused to be put in a box, who wanted a machine as complex and capable as the American landscape itself. The Le Mans 3 was Italy's passionate response to the clinical efficiency of Japanese touring bikes, bringing Mediterranean soul to American highways. With its distinctive 90-degree V-twin engine and that unmistakable Guzzi character, this bike turned every ride into an emotional experience. The 844 cubic centimeter motor produced around 80 horsepower, but more importantly, it delivered power with a personality that made you want to take the long way home. In 1979, when disco was dying and punk was being born, the Le Mans 3 offered something different: European sophistication for American adventures. That red frame and sleek fairing announced that its rider had taste, while the linked brake system and shaft drive showed serious engineering thought. This wasn't just a pretty face, it was a capable long-distance machine that happened to be gorgeous. What set the Le Mans 3 apart was its ability to make ordinary rides feel extraordinary. The engine's distinctive note bouncing off canyon walls, the precise handling through mountain curves, the way it settled into that perfect cruising rhythm on desert straights. Everything about this bike elevated the touring experience. It taught American riders that efficiency wasn't everything. The KZ-1000R was Kawasaki's attempt to build the ultimate sport touring machine, and they succeeded brilliantly. With its fuel-injected 998 cubic centimeters inline 4 producing over 100 horsepower, this bike had superbike performance wrapped in touring practicality. The distinctive Eddie Lawson replica styling made it clear this wasn't your typical touring bike. This was a machine for serious riders who wanted serious performance. By 1982, the touring community was splitting into two camps: comfort cruisers and performance tourers. The KZ-1000R definitively chose performance, offering a riding experience that was both exhilarating and practical for long distances. That fuel injection system was cutting-edge technology, providing smooth power delivery and better fuel economy for those long hauls across the American West. What made the KZ-1000R special was its refusal to compromise. The riding position was aggressive enough to feel sporty, but comfortable enough for all-day rides. This was touring for riders who believed that getting there fast was half the fun, and that the perfect touring bike should be able to embarrass sports cars when the mood struck. If you're loving this trip down memory lane, make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell so you don't miss our upcoming stories of legendary bikes. The VF-1000R was Honda's flagship, a machine that represented the pinnacle of mid-80s motorcycle technology. Its 998 cubic centimeter V4 engine produced over 120 horsepower, making it one of the most powerful touring-capable bikes of its era. But power was just part of the story. This bike was a rolling showcase of Honda's engineering prowess, from its aluminum frame to its sophisticated suspension. In 1984, America was experiencing an economic boom, and riders had money to spend on serious machinery. The VF-1000R delivered, with build quality that was simply extraordinary and attention to detail that bordered on obsessive. The riding position struck that perfect balance between sport and touring, allowing for both spirited riding through places like the Tail of the Dragon and comfortable interstate cruising. What made the VF-1000R legendary was its ability to make every ride feel special. The V4's distinctive sound, the precise handling, the effortless power delivery. Everything about this bike was crafted to provide the ultimate riding experience. It could tour cross-country in complete comfort, then hit a track day and embarrass pure sport bikes. The VF-1000R understood that the best touring bikes should make you want to ride more, not just ride farther. The FJ-1100 arrived as Yamaha's vision of the future of sport touring, combining cutting-edge aerodynamics with proven mechanical reliability. Its 1,097 cubic centimeters inline 4 produced 125 horsepower, wrapped in bodywork that looked like it belonged in the year 2000. This wasn't just evolution, it was revolution, showing what happened when Japanese engineering met wind tunnel testing. By 1985, riders were becoming more sophisticated, demanding bikes that could handle everything from rush-hour commuting to weekend canyon carving to cross-country touring. The FJ-1100 answered that call with a machine that was genuinely excellent at everything. The fairing provided real wind protection, the seating position was comfortable for hours, and the engine had both the power and refinement for serious touring. What set the FJ-1100 apart was its versatility. Whether you were chasing the perfect sunset through Monument Valley or hustling through the twisties of the Blue Ridge Mountains, this bike adapted seamlessly to your needs. The fuel range was impressive, the handling was neutral and confidence-inspiring, and the build quality was absolutely bulletproof. The FJ-1100 became the benchmark for sport touring bikes, proving that you could have your cake and eat it too, as long as you were willing to pay for quality engineering. The VFR 750F was Honda's masterpiece, a bike that combined the best of both worlds, sport bike performance with touring practicality. Its 748 cubic centimeters V4 engine produced around 105 horsepower, but the real magic was in how that power was delivered. Smooth, linear, and endlessly reliable, this motor could purr through city traffic or sing at highway speeds with equal grace. In 1986, the motorcycle world was changing rapidly. Riders wanted sophistication, and the VFR delivered with gear-driven cams, a distinctive V4 sound, and build quality that was simply extraordinary. The full fairing provided excellent wind protection, while the riding position struck that perfect balance between sporty and comfortable. This was a bike for riders who refused to compromise. What made the VFR 750F special was its ability to be multiple bikes in one package. On twisty mountain roads, it handled like a pure sport bike. On the interstate, it was a comfortable, stable cruiser. Loaded with touring gear for a cross-country adventure, it never complained. The VFR became the gold standard for sport touring, the bike that every other manufacturer tried to copy. It proved that the perfect touring bike wasn't necessarily the biggest or most powerful. Sometimes it was simply the most well-balanced, the most thoughtfully designed, the most Honda. The Ninja 1000R was Kawasaki's answer to riders who wanted superbike performance with touring capability, wrapped in styling that looked like it came from the future. Its liquid-cooled 998 cubic centimeters inline-4 produced 125 horsepower, making it one of the most powerful touring-capable bikes of its era. But the Ninja was more than just numbers. It was attitude, aggression, and capability rolled into one stunning package. By 1987, the sport touring category was heating up, and Kawasaki threw down the gauntlet with the Ninja 1000R. The full fairing wasn't just for show, it provided real wind protection for long-distance riding. The seating position was aggressive enough to feel sporty, but civilized enough for all-day comfort. What set the Ninja 1000R apart was its dual personality. On the track, or through mountain twisties, it was a pure predator, carving lines with precision and authority. On the open road, it transformed into a long-legged tourer that could devour hundreds of miles without complaint. The Ninja understood that modern riders wanted it all: speed, comfort, style, and the ability to go anywhere, anytime. It was touring for a new generation, riders who grew up on video games and MTV, who wanted their bikes to look as fast as they were. The K100 RS was BMW's revolutionary approach to sport touring, featuring a unique horizontal inline-4 engine that was unlike anything else on American roads. With 90 horsepower and shaft drive, this bike offered German engineering precision wrapped in distinctive styling that polarized riders. You either loved it or hated it, but you couldn't ignore it. In 1988, while other manufacturers focused on raw power, BMW took a different approach with the K100 RS. The horizontal engine layout lowered the center of gravity, creating exceptional stability and handling. The full fairing and adjustable windscreen provided outstanding wind protection, while the comfortable seating position made long days in the saddle a pleasure rather than a chore. What made the K100 RS legendary was its ability to eat up miles with Germanic efficiency. The build quality was exceptional, with attention to detail that became apparent after thousands of miles. This was a bike for riders who valued engineering excellence over flashy styling, who understood that sometimes the best solutions were the most elegant ones. The K100 RS proved that touring bikes could be both functional and distinctive, practical and passionate. The ST-1100 was Honda's dedication to the touring rider, a machine designed from the ground up for one purpose, covering serious distances in complete comfort. Its 1,084 cubic centimeters V4 engine produced 100 horsepower, but more importantly, it delivered that power with a smoothness and refinement that made highway miles disappear. This wasn't just a touring bike, it was a touring statement. By 1989, the touring market had matured, and Honda responded with the ST-1100. The linked braking system was revolutionary, providing confident stopping power even with a full load of gear. The shaft drive was maintenance-free, perfect for riders who measured their adventures in weeks, not weekends. What set the ST-1100 apart was its single-minded focus on the touring mission. Every detail, from the spacious storage compartments to the comfortable pillion accommodations, was designed with long-distance travel in mind. The bike's stability at highway speeds was rock solid, inspiring confidence whether you were crossing the Kansas Plains or navigating the curves of the Pacific Coast Highway. This was Honda's love letter to riders who believed the journey was just as important as the destination. The 1991 ST-1100 represented the evolution of Honda's touring philosophy, refined and perfected through customer feedback and engineering innovation. With its improved V4 engine producing smooth, reliable power and a chassis that balanced stability with comfort, this bike became the gold standard for serious touring motorcycles. Every detail was considered, from the integrated panniers to the sophisticated linked braking system. This was the era when touring was becoming more sophisticated, when riders demanded not just comfort, but also performance and reliability. The ST-1100 delivered on all fronts, with build quality that was simply extraordinary and a level of refinement that made every ride feel effortless. The aerodynamics was so good that you could ride all day without fatigue, while the luggage capacity meant you could bring everything you needed for extended adventures. Novice long-distance riders found it confidence-inspiring and forgiving, while experienced iron-butt veterans appreciated its capabilities and reliability. Whether you were crossing the country to visit family or exploring the national parks of the American West, the ST-1100 was the perfect companion. It understood that the best touring bikes don't just transport you, they enhance every mile of the journey, turning ordinary trips into extraordinary adventures. The R90S was more than just a motorcycle. It was a cultural icon, a machine that defined what it meant to be a serious touring rider in the 1970s. With its distinctive cockpit fairing, dual-disc brakes, and that unmistakable BMW Boxer twin engine, the R90S combined German engineering precision with timeless style. This bike didn't just tour. It made every ride feel like an event. In the mid-70s, when the world was changing rapidly and the open road represented freedom from convention, the R90S embodied everything riders wanted. The 898 cubic centimeter Boxer twin produced 67 horsepower with a character that was uniquely BMW, smooth, torquey, and absolutely dependable. The shaft drive meant minimal maintenance, essential for riders planning serious adventures far from civilization. What made the R90S the ultimate touring motorcycle was its perfect balance of performance and practicality. The riding position was comfortable for all-day riding, the wind protection was adequate for highway speeds, and the build quality was legendary. More importantly, it had soul, that distinctive Boxer engine sound, the purposeful styling, the feeling that you were riding something special. The R90S understood that touring wasn't just about transportation. It was about the relationship between rider, machine, and the endless possibilities of the open road. These 15 motorcycles defined the golden age of American touring, each one a chapter in the story of riders who understood that the journey was always more important than the destination. They carried our dreams across landscapes that seemed infinite, turning every horizon into a promise of adventure yet to come. Subscribe now and ride with us through the forgotten highways of America's motorcycle history.